The Nintendo 64 is a notably hard console to emulate and get good picture quality out of. There's not many alternatives either outside of original hardware, so when the Warrior 64 was announced as a better option for playing N64 games, people were excited. However, the excitement would not last for long. Let's take a look. What's going on? It's Pojer, coming at you with another video. Alright, before we start, if you've seen a couple of my videos and you like what I do, hit that subscribe button right there. It only takes a few seconds, but it helps our community grow. We're very close to 12k subscribers, just a few more and we'll be right there. Alright, let's get right on to the Warrior 64. When it comes to getting the best picture out of your N64, your options are very limited. The original hardware doesn't support RGB, so the best quality you're going to get is with composite, which are those colored chords that you commonly see, and S-Video. This means that if you try to play N64 games on a modern TV, the output quality is going to be very grainy and blurry. And sure, this is how game companies wanted you to play their games, and some people prefer to get this output quality for nostalgic reasons. However, if you want to get better picture out of the N64, the solutions are expensive. Some websites like Stone Age Gamer do sell modded N64s that support RGB. This significantly improves the output quality of your games, but these modded consoles are expensive and usually sell out quickly. In 2019, an adapter would be released called the Super 64. This would plug into the back of the console and allow you to use an HDMI cord to play your N64 games. Could this be the solution that we've been looking for this whole time? Well, the adapter would get a lot of criticism. The build quality was poor, the product was way too expensive, and it was nothing more than just an upscaler. It made more sense to buy something like the RetroTank than this. However, there's one product that gets a lot of praise. The UltraHDMI mod actually does give you excellent picture quality on the N64, some of the best I've seen without using emulation. This is by far the best solution to getting the best output quality on the N64. However, there's some massive downsides. The UltraHDMI mod is not an accessory that you plug in, you have to get your console modded and soldering is required. The UltraHDMI kit is also sold out a lot and it's hard to find one that's available for purchase. When you do find one, they're extremely expensive. And if you don't have the know-how to install it yourself, you gotta pay somebody to mod it for you, so that only makes it more expensive. Sites like Stone Age Gamer do have N64s that contain the UltraHDMI mod, but as you can imagine, they're almost always sold out, and when they're available, they're extremely expensive. So while this is the best solution for getting excellent picture quality, the chances of you obtaining one are slim. For other consoles before the N64, you have more options for getting good picture quality. Companies like Analog offer FPGA consoles that give you HDMI quality on 8-bit and 16-bit consoles. There's also many emulators that you can use, whether it's on a Raspberry Pi or somewhere else, that offer great output quality without sacrificing anything. But the N64 isn't so lucky. The console is notorious for not working on many emulators, and there are currently no FPGA units that play the N64, although an N64 core is being worked on the Mister. So not even emulation will help the N64. Could it be that maybe we're stuck with original hardware and there's no viable ways to improve picture quality? Well, in 2020, we would finally get a solution. Sort of. In October 2020, the company Intech Gaming announced a product called the Warrior 64. This was the answer we've been all looking for, a new console that plays N64 games in HDMI quality. The console would have a new design, be region-free, and didn't require any soldering or setup. Just plug it in and you're ready to go. The company got a lot of people's attention by comparing the console to the UltraHDMI mod, which before was considered unbeatable. Their Kickstarter would show before and after pictures comparing original hardware to this new console. The games do look noticeably better. Intech Gaming would post a video showing the product in action. It does show the console running, but it doesn't go into a lot of detail otherwise. We don't get to see inside the board or anything, and we don't get any general information about it, like how they made the console or anything. The Warrior 64 would also come with a controller that resembles the Hori Pad. This was a very good move because the Hori Pads are very well received. It's also very expensive, so now you can get the HDMI mod you've always wanted with one of the best controllers. The console was also $150, or $95 if you got the do-it-yourself kit. While that is high, you're getting a working N64 that's already set up for HDMI, so you're getting a good deal. There were some unanswered questions about this console though. Is it a recreation of the original hardware, or are they gutting existing N64s? And is the output quality really as good as they're making it out to be? On paper, it seems like this is an excellent buy, but this would all change when the YouTuber MetalJesusRocks received an early release. He praised the box and controller, but was disappointed by the console itself. He brought to light that the output quality is no better than what you get from a cheap $30 upscaler from Amazon. MetalJesusRocks did a side-by-side comparison between the Warrior 64 and the UltraHDMI mod, and it's easy to notice that the former is significantly worse. However, MetalJesusRocks did not take apart the console or do any further tests, so the worst wouldn't be found until later. About 2 months afterwards, RetroRGB would review the Warrior 64 as well and notice some oddities. The unit comes with sandpaper, which the company claims you should use to help clean your games if they don't work. This is a terrible way to try cleaning your games, and I would not advise doing it. Remember when people used to blow on NES cartridges to get them to work? Not that I would recommend it. Remember all the tricks that people would try, like putting 2 games in the NES or cleaning the contacts of the cartridges with a Q-tip? Imagine using sandpaper to clean your games. The fact that the company thought this was a good idea is insane. And these are the people that we expect to deliver us a good product. RetroRGB also opened up the console as well as checking out the do-it-yourself model and commented how cheap and low quality the parts were. And the way they achieved RGB and HDMI output was very primitive. RetroRGB commented that it was clear that the developers didn't know what they were doing and that the console was complete crap. The only compliment they gave was that the box was nice, the shell looks good, and it comes with a new set of screws in case you lost your original ones for the N64. The big draw for purchasing a unit like this is the convenience of having an HDMI console without having to set anything up. Like I mentioned before, the UltraHDMI mod was nice, but you had to do it yourself or pay someone to do so. This could have been a great idea for a product because there was a market for it. But because the output quality is not near as good and they chose to use cheaper parts, this console is a disappointment. Not only is the output quality poor, but it was discovered that Intech Gaming was gutting real N64s to make their consoles. They're not recreating the hardware from scratch at all. Basically, that means they're destroying existing N64s to make their project possible. A lot of collectors found this practice to be very unethical, the fact that they're destroying perfectly working N64s. I also don't think it's very efficient. There's only so many consoles out there. Hypothetically, if there's only 100,000 N64s in the world, that means you can only have 100,000 Warrior 64s. I almost want to call this a Kickstarter scam, but is it really considered that? If we compare this to an actual Kickstarter scam like the Coleco Chameleon, there's a big difference. The team behind the Coleco Chameleon claims that progress was being made on a prototype, but this was not true. When people were wondering why there was no updates, they tried to make a fake prototype, but people were quick to point that out. The Warrior 64, however, was a real console that was actually released. Technically, every feature they advertised on their Kickstarter was true. It does support HDMI like they claimed, and the output quality is actually better than original hardware if you don't use an upscaler. They provided the product they claimed they were going to. There was one piece of inaccuracy in the Kickstarter though. Intech Gaming claimed that the Warrior 64 is a plug-and-play unit. RetroRGB pointed out in their video that the do-it-yourself kit is not plug-and-play at all, and even requires soldering if you have a later N64 model. People tried to report this inaccuracy to Kickstarter, but they claimed it was not in violation of their policies. I personally think they were talking about the already assembled units, not the do-it-yourself ones, but they still could have made it more clear. I wasn't able to find a lot of information regarding the Warrior 64's release. I do see that a few well-known YouTubers received it, but I haven't heard much about it being released to the public. What I do know is that the console was a complete flop, and it did not take long for it to be forgotten. As a response to MetalJesusRocks' complaints, Intech Gaming claimed they would make a second version of the Warrior 64, however, nothing has been said after that. On their website, it appears that there's a V2 model of the console for sale. Could this be what they were talking about? I'm not willing to find out. The Kickstarter hasn't been updated since March of 2021, so it's safe to say that this project is dead. If you want to play the N64 on a modern TV with the best picture quality, your options are limited. The console doesn't support output quality better than composite and S-Video, and your options of bypassing this are limited and expensive. That's why the Warrior 64 was a great concept. This could have been a great solution to the problem. Unfortunately, however, the console was butchered. Hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, hit that like button. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the subscribe button for more content. Both of these things really help the channel grow. If you have anything to share, feel free to leave a comment. I read every single comment on this channel, and I'm pretty good at replying back. Anyway, have a good one.